Good morning, YouTube. Tired Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. So, last night was rather slow. Less than 100 reports of severe weather. A lot of fail parameters were in play, and thankfully, those played out. So, that being said, on we move because there's still a very long stretch ahead. Next 5 days are expected to be of at least slight risk criteria, if not higher. So, definitely going to be a very active time frame. So definitely make sure you're smashing that like button. Also, if you're new, hitting that subscribe button. If you're watching the video for the first time, also hitting that share button. But we're going to go ahead and get into today mainly here. So we have two slight risk areas and a marginal risk area. Marginal risk is across the New England area and the Cape. We have a 2% tornado area there and also a 5% wind area. Our slight risk both have 2% areas. We did get a 5% that's popped up over here towards the North Carolina coast that we'll keep a close eye on today, especially over towards Cape Hatteras. Wind and hail threats, we do have 15% in both of the slight risk regions, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Depending on how things look, I may end up going live depending on work and other things, but as a whole here, looks like it could get pretty interesting today. Looking at the upper level setup here, isn't the most robust. The setup was a little bit more impressive earlier this week, like as far as the last couple of days. Not that this setup never really stood out to me too much, although I do see something pretty interesting across the New England area. Could see some potentially bigger storms firing earlier in the day. I'm interested to see how that plays out. But as far as the upper level setup goes for today, outside of the New England area, nothing too crazy to expect on my, or at least from my estimation here. We look at it. I'll look at it from different levels as well. This 200 is not the only. 200 millibars or 41,000 feet is not the only part of the atmosphere that's relevant to severe weather, obviously. So looking at 500, it does look a little bit more impressive over towards the Cape Hatteras region. As far as the plains are concerned, I don't expect too much in the way of tornadoes. Can't rule one out, but it's not a very pronounced look at first glance here. We'll go to 700, look for a short wave. We do see one that's popped up over here towards the southeast, and it looks like it'll hold out well enough to where we could get over to the Cape Hatteras region probably by lunchtime, so probably not going to be able to go live for this one. But as far as the not western plains, but the central and eastern plains, could see a little something. Shortwave not super pronounced. I think this will probably be a wind and hail event mostly over there. Then of course, last but not least, looking at the 850s, we see that there is a decent little bit of low-level jet that pops up here by about 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon across this region. But just as quickly as it comes in, most of these storms will end up starting to go offshore. Otherwise, like I said, nothing super pronounced at that point. Even towards the Cape Cod and Boston areas, it doesn't look like there's a lot to work with. Maybe towards OZ, we might be able to see something here, because we do see a point where those winds get up to about 20 knots plus. It's usually about the bare minimum you would need for a possible tornado threat. But that being said, though, it's still plenty to keep an eye on over there. Like I said, main threat's going to be damaging winds more so than anything else today. But looking at the temperatures for today, nothing really surprising. Summertime, plenty of heat out towards the heart of the country. This is what's going to help allow those storms to fire. And even after this first round MCS moves through towards the southeast here, we do warm back up into the upper 80s here. A few areas getting above 90 as well. So that's another. So regardless of whether you get severe weather or not, it's another area that's going to be pretty daggone hot, and with those dew points, it's going to feel rather oppressive at this point. So speaking of dew points, let's go ahead and take a look at those. I'm almost kind of dreading this one in a way. But no surprises across the southeast towards the Gulf. It's going to be very rich, very moist air. 70, even some 80-degree dew points at this point. The moisture nose does make it pretty far up north, but we're also dealing with the corn belt here, so corn sweat's definitely going to be a factor here as well. If you don't know what corn sweat is, the video will be in the top right corner. But you can also see that, of course, dew points towards the eastern half of the country are ridiculous right now. Have been that way all year, and today will be no different. Even as we head later down the line, it's going to pretty much be that. So, next thing we're going to be looking at is instability. And from what I've seen, there's really not a whole lot to work with. There's a nice little area over here towards the Cape Hatteras region, or just south of there, where it's pretty unstable. This is a decent tour sounding. Not the craziest that I've seen by a long shot, but the numbers are good on this. Not much of a cap here. Decent lift. It's there. The potential's definitely there, but we'll have to see how this trends throughout the day here, of course. Of course, I'm looking back at 06Z, so that way I have enough time to look back at everything. And then as far as this setup is concerned over here, towards the north central plains here, not a whole lot to work with here. Looks like there also could be a cap in play too, so it could keep storm coverage pretty limited here as well. Go ahead and take a quick look at bulk shear too, and then we'll wrap this one up after that. After we, of course, take a look at what the radar could look like, but it does seem like there's some decent bulk shear across this area. Could see some storms fire even a little bit before lunch, but for the most part, I think mainly around 20 to 22Z will be the window for tornadoes, I think, across that region here. Do see a little bit of bulk shear here across the Boston region as well. So again, like I said, 2% threat isn't zero, so you have to keep an eye on it. And then, of course, over towards the north central plains, not a lot to work with there, so no real surprise. Starting to thunder here now. Then, of course, like I said, last but not least, as promised, we're taking a look at what the radar could look like. This is current time right now. Here are the storms near my area. Storms aren't going to really get over towards the North Carolina region until later this afternoon, as we've mentioned before. Right around 19 to 20Z, that's when the most severe weather can be expected across this region. By 23Z, that's when we see the potential for a couple storms firing over this region here towards Boston. And then, of course, a little later in the evening, we could see a few storms develop over towards the northern plains. But outside of that, the rest of the country is going to have a pretty calm day. So hope you enjoyed the Thursday forecast. If you did, you know what to do. We said it before at the beginning of the video. Smash the like button, decimate the subscribe button, and obliterate that share button also. Make sure you get the bell on too. But got to get ready for work. It's been Tyler, Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, take care. Have an awesome day.